What is up, everybody? I'm No Luck's Given, back with more Demon Bluff, and today I have a very special treat because we are going to try an experimental version of the deck building mode in Demon Bluff, courtesy of Uzabi. They hooked me up with a special build of the game where this is accessible. Some people may have tried this before. It was previously available on the itch.io website version of Demon Bluff. Currently isn't, because that build has also been updated to the current Steam demo, but I might check that out as well. I have a way to still access that too if this one does not work out, but we're going to try this out for my 3,000 subscriber special. Again, huge thanks to Uzabi for making this possible. This is my first time looking at deck building mode even, and this is pretty cool. Honestly, this might go in the thumbnail. Let me just get a clean screenshot of that real quick. And you might also notice we have the old music back in the game. That's because this is an older patch that Uzabi was able to find on their computer. And I mean, I'm assuming I just hit the next button. I was just looking for any other information here, but it looks like, I mean, all of these are 333. So maybe we're going to pick up villagers along the way and then eventually battle up against the puka. No mods in this other than just, you know, a different version of the game. And now we get to select a character to add to our village. Honestly, the Empress is pretty strong. The Dreamer's pretty meh, so let's go with the Empress here. And we're going to pick okay, so we're doing a little bit of a draft. This is an interesting one because the Baker clears itself, which is an incredibly powerful thing to do. I don't think it's that fun always. And the Enlightened, I'm happy to pick that one up. I think Judge could be lying. Slayer's always really good. If we're going for power, I would probably go for the Slayer, right? Yeah, let's go for the Slayer. I clicked the activate button on the Slayer to select it there. And now we have the Scout or the Oracle, both fairly reasonable picks. I think I like, you know what, we already have an Empress. Let's go for a Scout, just to have some variety in our information. Gemcrafters always be lying. Confessor is a pretty big tell, but honestly, I like to get a little bit spicy with it. It would be interesting in a more robust version of this if there were like point values or something associated with the different characters, but even just getting to build your own bag, I think, is pretty cool. Poet is like a nothing. You know what? It's random. Let's live by the random, die by the random. One evil in this board. I have to find it and kill it. Ooh, and I do see, all right, so there's a minion. I do see that there's gold. So again, I'm like brand new going into this, never even tried it before pressing record. So let's see how this goes. Just finding a minion should actually be pretty easy because everybody's going to be telling the truth. We don't even have any outcasts. Closest evil counterclockwise. So it has to be 2. Okay, nice. And I think we might get more points by killing cards while a bunch of cards are unrevealed. That's something in the normal game's point system. I don't know how that will impact this game's points. Fortune Teller and Judge, both pretty good. Let's go for the Fortune Teller. And now I can either remove a card or add an Architect or a Witness, or I can just skip this. Well, I don't really see the need to remove a card. I want to use the features that are available, but I'm going to hang on to my cash for now and see where this gets us. We're going to move along to a 7-card village now, still with 14 gold. 1 is evil. 6, 5, or 7. So that actually tells us that between 6, 5, 7, and 1, we definitely have our evil, which means 2, 3, and 4, all good. All good with me. Most of these are going to be good, but yeah, we still only have... Ooh, now we have a poisoner to find, though. Ooh. So we need to find 2 pieces of misinformation next to each other. I think that's all we need to look for. Let's flip over these then. Slayer and Gemcrafter. Slayer might as well shoot the Empress, because otherwise, like, the Slayer's probably corrupted. Let's start there. No. Could not kill 1. I think that was still fine. 7 is good. So you cannot be poisoned. You could be evil, and you could be good, but you cannot be poisoned. So, let's mark you as evil for now, a potential evil candidate. Fortune Teller, what do you have to say about these 2? There is no evil, so you're good and you're not poisoned. Between this, we have our evil team. So I don't know if our health regens or how health works in this game mode. So I'm going to avoid stabbing randomly. Between 5 and 7, there is a minion and a villager. There is another potential out of this. This could be the poisoner poisoning number 2. This could be corrupted information, making both of these villagers. However, this is not the poisoner. We checked that with the Slayer, which means 7 has to be the poisoner. And the Slayer was corrupted. The Empress had true info. Oh, shoot. This could have... I should go back. The, whatever that was could have been poisoning above them. Yeah, those could have all been good. Ooh. Okay. Getting a little ahead of myself here. Time to pick a new character. Jester is really strong. We'll go Jester. Jester's pretty powerful. And now I can remove a card or I can add a baker into my deck. I kind of want to skip again. I mean, I want to use the deck building feature, but let's do one run. Just like see what our options are potentially going to be before we wind up spending any cash here. Gain 5 gold plus 1 extra gold for each unrevealed card when you kill an evil character. This might be bugged. There's a chance because this number has not gone up. We'll see. Closest evil clockwise. And the evils that we are looking for are 2 minions. All right. With 2 evils, we probably need to start flipping over a bunch more things. There could be a double claim. That would be the first thing that we want to look at. You're telling me 4 is good. You're telling me 7 is good. So our evil teams are 3 and 4 or 5 and 7. This checks out. The scout saying that these are 1 away from each other checks out. You're saying closest evil counterclockwise. The only way that that's possible is if both of these aren't evil. So the evils have to be Fortune Teller and Gemcrafter. Let's stab them. I'm going to double check this info. Yep, that's the twin minion. That's the minion. And we did reveal everything in that board, so maybe I'll try revealing a little bit less. Let's put the knight in. And, ooh, I can gain 1 health. Do I have this much coin? I mean, I'm going to gain plus 1 health, if it lets me. Okay, now I'm at 10 out of 11. Little bit of bugs, but we are... Okay, now I'm at 11 out of 11. Cool. That will really help potentially on the final board, since this health total does seem to be tracking throughout the entire run, I imagine. Puppeteer is 2 cards away from the closest evil. That is not right. But we do have a poisoner alongside the Puppeteer. So this could just be poisoned info. Fortune Teller. 1 is evil. Okay, I kind of buy that. Poisoner is 4 cards away from the closest evil. And notably, we have... Oh, I cannot draw on the board. But we do have a double claim here between 1 and 4. A few things pointing at 1 right now. Closest evil clockwise pointing away from 4. Number 1 is a real scout. And we have our second double claim. All right. Can a puppet double claim? I think so. Oh, I think certainly so. A puppet will be double claiming on this board. Oh, we do have an outcast as well. We don't have access to like the cards just being static at the top of the screen like we do in the current build of the game, but we do have a doppelganger. So let's slow our roll here on getting excited about all of these double claims. That is some good info to go with. 1, 8, and 9 contains an evil, an empress in their own information. The gem crafter pointing at the poet. So we have 3 double claims on this board. One of those double claims has to be a doppelganger. The other 2 of those double claims have to be evil. So probably want to use this fortune teller, and then we'll have one other evil puppet or poisoner or something somewhere. But this board just got really tricky. Poisoner is 4 cards away from the closest evil, so how could we figure that out? Closest evil clockwise. I want to operate under the assumption first that this one's evil and this one's good. That would make this information true, this information true, this information true. Both of the scouts could be evil, mind you. Closest evil clockwise, this would be true. So we're looking at 2 potentials for puppets. And then this could be like the poisoner poisoning here. And then this could be the puppet. Yes, this would be the puppet. With this being the puppeteer. And then the poisoner is 4 away from the closest evil, which is hard to do, but possible on this board. 2 evils are adjacent to each other. That would also be true information. So this could be a puppet as well. I think this is where I want to start. And from here, I can use the fortune teller to find the puppet. But the fortune teller might also be poisoned. Is there a chance that... Yeah, wait, both of these would have to be the doppelgangers, actually. Or no, this could be the doppelganger, but this would have to still be an existing villager. So this would be the puppet. So if we think this is the puppet, we could try something like this. I don't know why that is speaking to me, but I should try to see if there's another way to solve this board, and then see if there's any overlaps. Because the poisoner being 4 cards away from the closest evil, that's kind of wild. I can remember that 1 and 6 is one of my evil team pairs. Let's clear this board and see what other tales we can weave here. Oh, we know this is bad info. That's why we are also starting here. I was just about to say, what if this information is true? Well, the only way that that's possible is if this information is corrupted. Meaning... Oh, I think this gem crafter is always good. It's getting tricky to place all this, because I'm thinking, like, this could be the poisoner, but then this one also has to be evil. This could be our puppet. This is our doppelganger. But 2 evils are adjacent to each other. Would be wrong. Because we would have 3 evils in a row here. This information would also be wrong. I think it's time to kill the scout. That's the poisoner. which means this information is true. This information has to be poisoned. So let's clear these markings again. And let's use the fortune teller. So this information is wrong. And it's not sat next to the poisoner. So this is always the puppeteer. I think it just always has to be that the enlightened is the puppet because the poet has to contain the doppelganger. But I am willing to do this. Is there an evil between these two? There is no evil, which means that there probably is, and this fortune teller is corrupted. Nice. All right. Now we could add a hunter to the board. These are starting to get trickier now, so I'm starting to think, okay, maybe I should try to add the best villagers possible to my board to make sure we can solve this, but this has been fun. Despite some UI bugs here and there, I think we are looking good. I've got no clue how much health I have, but if it lets me get another point of health, no, it's not going to let me. So let's skip. And let's maybe buy another health upgrade after this village. Killing after like one flip on that early village might turn out to be super useful. But, so 5 extra gold plus 1 extra gold for each unrevealed card when you kill an evil character. Okay, so every time I kill an evil character, I get 5 gold. Last board, I killed 3 evils, which means I have at least 15 gold right now. So if I can kill 2 more evils, I'll have at least 25. Maybe that will be enough for... Oh, and do I have to kill or... Yeah, I think the Slayer will work. 2 cards away from an evil. 5 and 1. 3 cards away from an evil. We do not have a doppelganger. Huh. That is curious. What do we have? We have a counselor and a shaman. So we have both a plague doctor. Oh, no. We have 0 outcast starting. No, we have 1 outcast starting. Yeah, I'm going to trust this number up here. 1 outcast starting. This is just wrong. There's some visual problems. Don't worry about that. And with 1 outcast, a counselor makes a second one. Oh, but we have a shaman. Oh, I almost overlooked that. So we do need to find a double claim, which basically means we do need to flip over everything. Shaman is 1 away from closest evil. That could be useful, and we only have 1 double claim. Both of these hunters are good. In order for them both to be telling the truth, it cannot be the jester. It has to be that this fortune teller is evil. I think I did need to flip over everything before finding that out. And I do believe that both this Plague Doctor and Bombardier are real. Because we should have 2 outcasts. So this could be the counselor. You're telling me 2 is evil? Sure, that would check out with the scouts info. Now that's too much info checking out, to be honest. Because we do need to have Plague Doctor corruption somewhere. So if the Plague Doctor corruption, 3 cards away from the closest evil. 2, 3, could be both of these 2. If you're telling me 2 is evil, then that Slayer is of no use to me, though I have heard that using a Slayer to kill a dead character could be somewhat useful. I'm just trying to think if, we started with this assumption. If the Plague Doctor corrupted either of these, that could send us down the total wrong rabbit hole. So is there any way else that this information could work? Yes, this hunter could be corrupted and should actually say 1 because this jester could be evil. The problem is then okay, then one of these 2 are lying because they're evil. So if the jester was evil, then both of these pieces of information are wrong. And we can't have another plague doctor. I think I'm going to kill the fortune teller. And honestly, I think I'm going to check if the jester is plague doctor corrupted. Because everything else just looks to be working out here. Oh, here's how we can double check it. Are these evil? Yeah, I don't think so. I think you're evil. That's the counselor. That's the plague doctor next to the counselor. 2 is evil. Shaman is 1 away from the closest evil. So here's how we could do. One of these 2 could be evil, the other one being plague doctor corrupted. Commenters have told me to do this. I don't know what this means. I killed evil at 1. So this slayer just lied. That's what I've been looking for, I suppose. Thank you, commenters, for letting me know what's going on. I think that means this jester is plague doctor corrupted. No, they're not. Oh, wait. Wait a second. Back it up. Apologies. This slayer would be way too close to these hunters. Okay. We can still solve this. We still have a jester that isn't corrupted. I made some mistakes, but we can still bring this home. We know that this jester is good. The slayer thinks they killed the counselor. Wait, never mind, commenters. You steered me wrong. That was not right. I should have used this slayer shot at one of these 2. Because one of these 2 is evil, the other one is plague doctor corrupted. I think we can sort that out fairly easily with a move like this. You're going to tell me that there's 2 evils. That means the scout is plague doctor corrupted. All right. A little bit of confusion there, but we were able to sort it out. And I think a bishop is pretty good. Let's grab a bishop. And now for potentially our final shop. Not giving me an opportunity to heal. I don't know why this is 5 out of 6. But I'm going to skip again because I think the only thing that I care about is healing. And now we are on to the Puka village with 10 cards. We have 1 outcast, which is a bombardier, a witch, a poisoner, and a puka, which means 3 evils, potentially 3 pieces of misinformation. That is 6 potential pieces of misinformation on a 10-card board. Plus, we're not going to get to flip the 10-card board, which will give us extra gold. Okay, and our first card is a jester. Between 3, 10, and 7, don't know why I read those in a random order, there is a minion, outcast, and villager. We're going to flip these cards in that order, hoping to find the Bombardier. That is not a doppelganger. I believe this bishop might be lying, or this bishop might be lying. They're both pointing at each other. Let's sort this. They're both pointing at 7. Whichever one is pointing at a bombardier is probably the truther. That's this one. This one's probably truthing. This one's probably minioning. So we could Slayer shoot this. A lot of potential for poisoning and corruption. You could not kill number 3. All right, I still think that was a reasonable shot to take. I'm 3 cards away from evil. Because we want to kill the witch before we get out there. That could just mean that this Slayer is corrupted. That's going to be my current working theory, because this bishop between 2, 7, and 9 did not find an outcast, which means this information has to be wrong. And if this is a bombardier, if we don't find any other bombardier, this information has to be right. There is a chance, of course, that this bombardier... Ooh, this came up in a video recently. No. This is always a minion. This is always a minion. Here is why. This bombardier cannot... is either an outcast or a minion. If this is a minion, then that would mean that this information is correct, because if this information is wrong, then it will only include good characters. And because there is a bombardier in this information, this Slayer has to be real and corrupted, and this straight up just has to be a minion. Because if this was a minion, then that would make one of these two an outcast, but that's not possible with only bombardiers and outcasts. So this is our 100% confirmed bombardier, and I'm going to kill this bishop, get some coin out of that. That's our witch. That's going to let me keep on flipping. One of these two sits the poisoner or the puka. Might be tough to figure that one out. The puka could be here. The poisoner could not be here. So this could be the puka. I'm going to use orange for both corrupted and for minion. Hopefully that's not confusing. This could be the puka. This could also be the poisoner, and it would be 3 away from the poet. Actually, either way, this would be 3 away from the poet. Did I say this couldn't be the puka? Oh, it can't be the poisoner. Right. I mean, like, if this is the puka, the jester should be able to solve this. Let's figure it out. 4 away from an evil. That's wrong. 1 is evil. 4, 7, or 10. It could be 4, but it could be that this is misinformation pointing at 3 goodies. A lot of ways for that to resolve. This could also be puka corrupted. Yeah, this is tricky. Clockwise. This is the puka? Let's think if this is the puka. Yeah, then it's just lying, and it's next to a poisoner, potentially. That's my current operating theory. Poisoner, poisoned, puka. So this should be true info. Knight. The knight, could the knight ever be next to a poisoner? No. Here's why. This Slayer is always good. So, this Slayer is always corrupted. And they're corrupted either by 6 or 8. It was kind of bold drafting a knight knowing that the final board would have a puka, but I think it's going to work out for us. This Slayer has to be corrupted either by the knight, at which point, sure, we're fine to stab them, or they are corrupted by the enlightened puka/poisoner. If they are corrupted by an evil card that sits in seat 6, that would make the poet's information correct, which means the poet cannot be evil. The poet would have to be good, pointing at the enlightened, which I think they are. And I think they do just have true information. We're going to stab this knight. This knight could be the puka, also corrupting the knight, or it could be the poisoner corrupting the poet, and a puka sits here. I don't know if that second one's possible, but this knight is a goodie. This poet, therefore, sat in between 2 confirmed good players, has to have, actually just straight up has to be good and have good information. Because if the poisoner was sitting here, it wouldn't have a choice. It would have to corrupt the knight. Same thing with a puka, would have to corrupt the knight. So this poet is always good. 1, 2, 3, this bishop's fine. 1, 2, 3, goodbye enlightened. That's the poisoner, potentially corrupting the Slayer. And then this is just one of these two is evil, and we can use the Jester to figure that out. If the Jester gets a 3, we are in business, and we have completed a run of deck building Demon Bluff. There is my final score, 1,010. I don't know if that's good or if that's bad, but I think that this was a pretty good runtime for this video. So I'm going to get this uploaded, but but I am going to be playing a little bit more with deck building mode throughout this week. I think that would be fun to look at. And like I said, I've got access to this client, which has some bugs. I'm also going to try another version. It's like an archived version of the itch.io client. If you've tried that and think that might run a little bit better, we're going to try out both of them. But remember, both of these are sort of a work in progress. They are old builds of the game that Uzabi gave me access to for my 3,000 subscriber special. So huge shout outs to them, and super excited to see how this mode evolves in the future of Demon Bluff. But for today, that's going to be it for me. Thank you guys very much for watching. I'm No Luck Skiven. Peace.